Reflection handling, the low-key feature that may matter most when purchasing your next TV. Coming up.
I've seen things most people wouldn't believe.
Hey, what's up guys? I'm Brian. This is Tech Therapy. Today's video will be on reflection handling. As I mentioned, the low-key feature that may matter most when you're purchasing your very next TV. One of the most important features for choosing your next TV is where it will be watched, mostly what the use case is, but typically where it will live is one of the most important features. And reflection handling, primarily how the TV will behave in a bright room, may lead to one of the biggest choices you may have to make when it comes to buying your next TV. Today you will see three different TVs go head to head: the LG C2 OLED, Samsung QN90B Mini LED, and the Sony X90K full array local dimming LED. All are 4K. You'll also see the 77-inch A80J make an appearance. Now, the idea is to put all of these in a bright room. I apologize that they're not all the same size. I'll be as fair as I possibly can. All three have different reflection handling capabilities. Samsung is probably most known for their reflection handling. You'll let me know what you see when we show you all of the footage. This is filmed in my living room. The A80J is on the wall. That's where it lives. I do watch an OLED in a bright room. They can be seen in a bright room, but you will see for yourself how the LG C2, X90K, and Samsung QN90B all match up. Special thank you to Robert and Wendy Zahn of Value Electronics, who have supplied all three panels for extended review. You'll see them in this video. Please consider making your next AV purchase through them. Check the description below for all of their information. Let's check out the footage and let me know what you guys think and how important is reflection handling to you. All right, guys, let's set the stage. Here we are in my dining room, windows everywhere. We have the 65-inch X95K against the 55-inch LG C2. Semi-gloss on the X90 versus glossy on the C2 OLED. Samsung QN90B will jump into our comparison later, which is a mini LED, which is glossy. None of the LEDs in today's comparison have X-wide viewing angle type coding on their screens. That's limited to the X95 for Sony, and the QN90B, the 43 and 50-inch, do not have that coding, which I think is a plus. Some of you are very allergic to that rainbow effect that some people see on that kind of reflection handling. I personally don't like it lowering the contrast ratio, so I'm happy to have no rainbow effects in this comparison today. The A80J OLED will also jump in very briefly, which is in the room next to us. We'll be focusing on several different times of day. Very, very bright midday. Morning is what we have here. We'll get into a little bit of a darker area soon. But we're looking to talk here about OLEDs not being possible in a bright room. They actually have very good reflection handling. The challenge is at times their black level can behave like a mirror, and they're not bright enough to combat all reflections. But you can see here that the diffused semi-gloss on the brighter LED is an issue, where it's not really an issue on the OLED. By trying to combat reflections, what you see is a blurrier reflection. And as we get into this dark area here, this LG is an absolute mirror, but do you like the smeary reflection of the LED? Now we're going to move into the other room quickly and show you the A80J. Really zooming in. As we pan over to the A80J, you can see that as it's off, it's an absolute mirror. When it's on, no problems at all. However, when you are in something that is dark, black levels in scenes or a darker movie, that's where the reflection handling goes away. And the black level becomes the OLED's biggest weakness. Now, the Samsung is bright enough to combat that, as you'll see later. Now, I'm just showing you the living room. This is a lot like many of your rooms. I have door, windows in the back. As we go back to the LG versus the Sony, which do you prefer? Now, I would say I like the glossier look myself. To me, it looks higher end. I don't like matte finish TV. Not the reflection handling. I just don't love the way that finish looks, especially off. No matter how much there's my cat in the background, no matter how much I tried to clean the X90, very hard to not make it look like it was dirty. We can see the reflections there, like a mirror from the LG. And then there's that diffused look. Now, going into a dark room quickly to show you how they respond, the image quality does change for both of them. LEDs tend to look better in a bright room. They're colorful, they're bright, they're vibrant. Now, drawing them quickly, the drapes. There's a scene here I do want to show you where the OLED looks very dim, and about here is where you start to see the LED pull away. Now, scenes like this is really just a technology, but in a bright room, that hurts the OLED. Now, I love showing these TVs later in the year. It's the scene right here, actually. You'll see it mostly. There you go. But then they trade punches back here during the champagne sequence of this demo here, where it pops more on the OLED. Now, drapes are back open. Now, showing our good friend Jennifer Gala's demo material here. I like showing this footage from her as it's real world content. I can't show you movies due to copyright, but you can see how the reflection handling almost disappears in some parts here by the LED. The semi-gloss isn't really a strength. And I think the blurriness can become more of a distraction. The reason I'm showing you all angles is because you can see the reflections of all the windows when you hit the different angles. Now, what do you guys prefer when you're seeing this? Do you like the semi-gloss or do you like the gloss? Some people don't like glossy at all, even when the TV is off. They do not like the fingerprints on it. Now we're catching the middle of both windows. Focus on the middle of the screen, not on the right of the X90. Now, this is the LG. You can see the reflections behind me. Same footage from Jen and the HDR Super channel. Check out her channel. Love Jennifer's work. Now you can see the reflections, the classes, there I am. Now watch how that diffused semi-gloss behaves. Now this is an extreme version of it. Obviously we're paused here. But it does talk about, or it does go into the discussion of LEDs are immediately better, being that they're brighter. This is just one scene, but I thought I'd show it. Now, the QN90B is on the left, jumped into the fight here. X90 is on the bottom, and the LG is on the right. Now, in this comparison of all three, you want to focus primarily on the QN90B versus the C2. The X90 is on the ground, so it's missing a little bit of that window. But as I pan up and look down, you can see where it is catching the window there now. As you can see, that's why I'm catching all these different angles. But the C2 still looks very good here. Now, what the QN90B does amazing is, though it's glossy, being glossy and very bright, that combination, and whatever coating they're really using, it does swallow a lot of the reflections. Whereas you see here in the black level of the C2 is a true mirror, not here on the QN90B. So that's probably the best shot right there. So when it's all colorful on screen, the C2 and the QN90B look almost the same in terms of reflection handling. As soon as that black area comes on, it does become a mirror. But that's the contrast ratio also of the OLED. Now the argument, as we see here, though, look how deep the C2 looks versus the QN90B. The argument is the higher peak brightness and reflection handling gives a higher perception of contrast ratio over the OLED. Now we have all three here. Again, keep in mind the X90 is not as much into that window as the other two. I love going through all these TVs at this point of the year as we're getting ready to go to CES next week. This year, more than ever, recommending TVs from 2022 is going to be even easier. X90, excellent value, great TV. C2, probably my favorite all-around TV. And I love the QN90B. So a lot of next year's videos will be about going back to these. Now look how dim the C2 looks here. Now going into next year, it's going to be so much easier to recommend now that they all have HDMI 2.1. A lot of value for you guys that haven't bought yet. You can see how much the semi-gloss pot, there you go. You can see it there. What do you guys think of these three TVs in general? What do you think of the reflection handling of all three? Which do you prefer? Is reflection handling something you guys focus on? For me, I am typically in a dark room gaming and watching movies. I will tell you the 80J, 70% of the time is totally fine. I'm at 77 inches in my living room, but there are times where I'm watching football, not football, but I'm watching movies where you're like, wow. So now we have the QN90B going against the X90 to really show you how the X90 does. And you can see how the semi-gloss is not great. But it looks like a mirror on the other. So you have to really choose. For me, that diffusion of the reflections, it makes a blurrier image. This is all black. You can also see the size difference between a 43-inch and a 65. But I think we can agree that the X90K also looks very good against these other two monsters. And it's, you know, in the TV world. This is not the X95. I think the X90, a buddy of mine actually bought this 65-inch, the same one. Looks great in his home. And I don't think the reflections are as big an issue if you're not comparing it to the other two. Just for me, the glossy looks more premium. So for me in this comparison, the QN90B, I think, wins. I think the glossy and peak brightness is the clear winner. Then I would go C2 and then the X90. For the majority of you guys, I think the X90K would be the choice. Bright LED. But I wanted to really show you the semi-gloss reflection handling and, again, the diffusion of the image. Can relate to a blurrier image. Now, also keep in mind, guys, when you buy TVs, how they... Oh, there's my cat. Hi, Miracle. How the TVs look off is important to many of you. If it looks blurry or matte, you might not like it as much. You wonder why the reflection isn't as clean. That's kind of the point. But that does make the TV look a little bit muddy when off, if that matters to you. Doesn't matter to me. It's all about how it looks on content for me. All right, guys, I'm Brian. This is Tech Therapy. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great day, and I'll see you guys in the comments. Love you guys.